Good evening. Tonight we finished with the let's try it again. There we go. Okay. Tonight um we're back from camp, from the ceremony camp. We had a ceremony for the Kamishi River, for the rivers, and we had to go pretty high into the mountains. And so that's what this camp was about. We had a great time. Everything worked out perfectly, and the team that went, although it wasn't considered like a team, but this is like the group of people who are going to be together. Expeditions, I guess it seems to be like right now we've decided to. All right, Damon, thank you so much. Uh, hmm, where'd you? Oh, okay, let me look. Give me a second, please. I need to. Here in a second, I'm going to invite some guests. It'll be our first time to invite. Oh, um, let me go to here. Give me just a second, please. I hope this didn't knock me off here. Um, just give me a second here. I'm still online at all. I don't know if I am or not. But if I am, I'm still talking to you. I'll be right back. I just need to type in, I guess, name is Damon. Yeah, yes. Okay. Okay, Damon. I sent that. And Malcolm, thank you. If when he gets on here, I got that email also. Now I'm gonna have to try to open up a three person window here. Hey, Cliff, how you doing? Cliff Bays is in the room. Great hearing from you. Um, okay. So what I'm trying to do now is invite guest. Oh, banner's not up. Okay. Mm, does anybody know? I've seen them. We're supposed to be able to invite your guest. Uh, give me just a second. Is okay. Good, Cliff. How are you doing? Hola, amigos. Hola, ¿cómo está? Todo bien aquí. ¿Yo habla español? ¿Poco? Grande, medial. Um, hey, is that Malcolm in the room? Malcolm, are you in?
Man.
Hey, Malcolm, good to see you. So that's how it works.
I hope so.
All right. So, what'd you do? You just clicked onto the link.
Yeah, it had to do all the permissions, and I clicked the link, and then the permissions come up, and uh tested mic and all that. Then entered the screen name and put enter, and that was it. Not hard at all.
Oh, good, good. So, Damon, that's all you have to do. If you just heard that, click that, and I'll see your name will pop up, and I will add you to the room, and then we can get started. And while we're waiting for Damon to get here, I'm going to do these quick announcements. The Bigfoot Museum is still almost open. They're just like right there, almost open. And Malcolm's got enough to have his own display as well. And actually, another friend has, who we visited. He's got a good, I guess, some um, accurate on what is around his area. So he's the guy you could talk to about Bigfoot. That. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, Damon, I
Yeah,
sent that link to you. Well, we'll go ahead and okay. Let me go get the two more. The Oklahoma Bigfoot Predator Watch, in parentheses, antlers in surrounding areas. Also, Choctaw Missing and Murdered Woman, WOMBMAN, and Sun Center and Database. Those are two other Facebook pages that I have. And once we get through with Facebook jail, this link will be going there also. So if you don't see it here, you'll see it on that page as well. The museum is scheduled to open. Still, just a little bit of work is needed, but they are getting it up and ready. And hopefully, we can get some um, photos and information in there also because of well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And and let's see what else. Um, we finished camp. We the ceremony camp that we had this weekend in Tallahassee, Oklahoma. We finished everything with that, and we'll also explain how that went and what happened. And also, Malcolm, I want to add a couple things after you get through telling your part because I've been looking at that video, and whenever I can get these pictures and everything up to you, I mean, you already know, but it's just where we seen them and where we found it and what we was doing out there. We walked up on a lot of stuff, and but sometimes I would take a picture behind my back, just over my shoulder, and I caught a lot of
mm,
stuff like that too. So, we'll I'll just show it to you. And have you seen that video I just posted, Malcolm?
the orb.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was.
And I didn't. Whenever I first seen it, I followed all the way. I was like, I don't know if y'all seen it yet or if I told y'all. So I was like, let me get it out there and send it to everybody. And but yeah, there was a lot of things going on out there. Um, Damon, you still not have the link yet, and Yehuda Jackson. Hey there, people. Hey Yehuda, how you doing? Um, Tonight we're having uh, some guests. Our first time we're doing this, and I'm glad one of the links has already started. That we're going to have other people besides me explaining and talking about things that they had their own. Well, we all had the same experiences, is what I could say. And but it's good to hear. Uh, Damon says they have two missing peoples at Keystone Dam now too. Is that Keystone, Oklahoma, or
Yeah, up by Tulsa.
okay, okay, wow. Uh, and so as soon as Damon can come on and keep us up with that, Damon, because sometimes they find them right off too. So if you can, please keep us up with that. Um, let's see. We had a very good time, and since we're waiting just for Damon, and when he comes on, I'll link him in also. But I want to start with my friend Malcolm. Okay, thanks, Damon. And Cliff says, "Dang." So I want to let or have Malcolm tell you how everything went with camp and everything for the ceremony camp. And like we said, this was not a Bigfoot expedition, but we will be in occupied Bigfoot areas. And then I said there's a 99 point something chance that we're going to have an encounter or an experience or something because we will be in these areas. And was going into two areas, one at night and one in the morning. So I'm going to let you uh, hear from Malcolm, and he's going to explain from, and if you can, Malcolm, from like the get go, because we got time. So from the get go, because I know you even had to get back and things like that. So, I mean, we all kind of just went in there and just like warriors do, go there, get it done, and get back. And we was done, that next day with everything, and we let's just say we got everything done. So I'm gonna let Malcolm, and I'm gonna watch Malcolm on here too, also. So you're gonna see me with my face turned because I want to hear everything he says, and let's just listen to him and hear. Don't hear, just let's listen to what he's saying because that's how we gain that information. And if we're thinking about something else or how this pertains to me or this reminds me of a story or this happened yesterday, then we're not listening to what he's saying. And he's got some valuable information and he can even tell you how to, you know, blend in, don't cause a disturbance by even maybe causing a disturbance, something like that. But be in the, don't do anything abnormal, So,
Yeah.
but we would have if we had to. I mean, but Malcolm, if you could go ahead, I'm just going to sit here and listen. We've got a couple of guests on, and whenever Damon gets here, Damon will let. Okay, Damon, I'll send you the link again. Uh, and while I'm doing all this, Malcolm can tell you from the get go. So, Malcolm, thank you for joining us tonight. I'll take care of Damon, and then we'll get back with you. And we'll still be listening. I'll be
Okay,
right back.
Jerry, I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite to come on and the invite to camp. It's quite an experience. By the time I got home, I felt like I'd been in an Indiana Jones movie. But yeah, it was quite an adventure. Um, I know the night before we left, I don't think very many of us got any sleep from the anticipation, but it was nice to get to the area. And we kind of went to an area we weren't very familiar with. It just all started out at when we got to camp and where they put us to set us up on the first run was in the back on the power lines and we checked our camp area, and one of the first things we did find was a print, and it was just inside the woods. And we got some pictures of the first camp, and it was secluded from the rest of the camping area where all the RVs and all that were. But with talking with the park manager, and how she was telling us that was having a bunch of ATVs come in and stuff, and would be all around the area that we was going to be had set up in. We decided to go ahead and move up to another spot that had the facilities closer and everything. But we were so involved with after we had hit the field that we probably didn't spend more than 4 or 5 hours at that site anyway. Um, had a great time with meeting everybody, meeting Damien and Josh, and enjoyed the interview that Josh made with us, and enlightened us on everything that was happening on his property. But the first thing that we noticed that Damien and I had talked about was the first thing we noticed was the skunk smell in the air at his house. And so it just kind of went automatically to high alert. And oh wow, the things that we got to see and experience, and we first off we drove up in stealth mode, quiet, slow, um, trying not to startle the surroundings, and we seen several figures that were in the fields. Um, there was one on top of an old house on the property when we first pulled up that we observed for quite a while, and that one quietly faded back, and another one appeared on the other side of the house. And there we seen, I know, there's just so much, it's hard to uh, start off where. There was one juvenile that was behind some bales of hay that we got eye shine from. There was eye shine in the fields. There was um, vocals going on. Um, the coyote vocals that wasn't right. And I think we even heard one try to make a dog vocal of a bark that was way, way off. And I think we all kind of snickered at that one a little bit. Um, but it was very intense. It really was. And I think we were there, I forgot how many hours. I know it was way in the early morning hours when we, after it had been quiet for a while, before we decided to start resting any. And that was only just for a couple hours. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of activity on his property, and I think they were kind of surprised that of our activity of observing them. I think it kind of, from what Josh had said about the things that they had done to him, and how they really messed with him and his family. Had one of the neighbors walk up, and it was interesting. He was kind of wondering what was going on while there was people there, and he was walking up this long curved driveway, and he said he heard something run across the road in front of him. He thought it was us messing with him, and and he was kind of giggling about it until I think Jerry showed him some of the footage that he got of them on the house and everything, and he wasn't very happy about having to walk back to his house down that driveway when he left. And I tried to keep the night vision on him and stuff so we could observe. He got it, and I think somebody said after he kind of hurried quickly to get home. He got a different point of view after talking with everybody. Let me see. I know that Jerry's got a lot of footage from Josh's area home, and it's getting all that together. So we're looking at that. I sent him some that I had of a tree knock that I didn't realize I had, a vocal tree knock, but and I think we're gonna run across a bunch of things that we can't see with our normal vision once we go over everything. So when we started out that morning, we started out next Saturday morning before daylight and headed up to the Kiamichis. We was in the Kiamichis, but we headed to deep in. And before we even left, I told Jerry, I said, "You sure you won't go over there? That's like being in their living room." But we all decided we wanted to go, and we went. The road was narrow and secluded. Jerry and I was in the first vehicle, and we had Damien and Josh behind us, and they were in the car. And as we went up, we got to an area where the car couldn't make it anymore, so Damien decided to go ahead and just pull his car off to the side. And I sent Jerry a picture of that I had taken. Maybe he can put that up a little bit later on. We didn't quite realize what was fixing to take place. After everybody got in the car, this area was really rocky, really rough. We was in a all-wheel drive vehicle, so we continued on, and just a little bit after everybody got in, Josh was like, "I think I hear a tire leaking," and we made it up to the top, and where Jerry wanted to go to the mouth there of the Kiamichi River, and got out and had a flat tire on the driver's front side. And I said, "Wow, I must have pulled the plug out. I had to put a plug earlier in that tire, and with the rocks, I must have pulled the plug out." So I told him, I said, "Well, y'all go ahead, and I'll be changing this, so we'll have it ready and be face downhill when everybody gets back." And I thought about when I said that, and I said, "Well, this is how they make bad movies." This is how they start. But Damien said, well, he wanted to stay and help me, and that way we could be paired, and I really appreciate him doing that. So Jerry and Josh went ahead and went down the side of the mountain to take care of what they were doing, and me and Damien changed the tire and everything, got it turned around and ready for them when they come back. And I could tell they had been on quite a hike. They were both just soaking wet and with sweat and everything. And uh, this is very high altitude, so they had been on a pretty good trek. We started going back down the hill, and let me back up for a second here. When they got in the car, when we had to stop, Jerry and I walked up and observed the rocks and the area, and Jerry pointed out a couple of footprints that had the toes and everything. And about the time he pointed at the footprints, I pointed at a bunch of feathers where it looked like some had defeathered a hawk or something, like some kind of big bird. And we was both kind of like looking at each other and everything. And I think we really did go on high alert again. We was both kind of looking around very um, intensely at the wood line and trees above and everything. And so that's when we got in the vehicles and headed on up the mountain. Now back to where we're coming down the mountain, I said, well, in case I did run over something, I don't want to run the same track. So I was staying on the other side of the little road, not trying to stay out of what I routed up. And we come back to that same spot, and as we was going over those rocks, we heard another puncture on the tire on the other side. And this was at the same area where Damien left his car. So we pulled on up, and I pulled closer to Damien's car. Well, Jerry and I walked back up the road to that spot, and we seen where some sharp pointed rocks had been placed in this rock pile, and it looked intentional. And we was like, wow, this was a trap. This was set for someone to, not knowing the area or what they were involved in, would had stopped in that spot and changed their tire. And we kind of took that trap out so no one else would be caught in that position. On the way back to the vehicles, we both noticed a drag mark that went across the road where it looked like something had drug maybe a deer or something across the road and up through the ditch and up the side of the hill. And following this drag mark, there was a big big tree that had fell over, but there was a lot of other little trees um, around this big one, and it was designed as a perfect blind. You could hardly see behind it or through it or anything. So I kind of dubbed that the kill zone. It was more than just a trap. It was a kill zone. And I looked at them and I said, "Well, I tell you guys," I said, "I'm not leaving it sitting here. I ain't sitting here. We're driving it down the mountain." So we eased the SUV down the mountain, rolling basically. Um, we had to find a spot to turn. Damien had to back down till he could find a spot to turn around. We finally found a spot. And this was pretty intense because we knew the situation that we were in. And we kind of went on high alert. Jerry was on high alert. He was watching everybody's backs. And we were all kind of watching everybody's backs. But it was quite something. And it was a relief to get down to the base of the mountain and a more populated area. Um, we went in, Damien and I went in town because we had a spare and two flat tires. All we had. We had to go get another tire for the vehicle. And while they was changing the tire, they couldn't fix it. They said it had 3 holes in that tire. So there was still some more that we had just missed with our eyes. But I think everybody at that was just wore slap out. Not, I don't think anyone had very much rest, and it was hot. And I think Josh said the thermometer on the truck read 105 degrees, and once we got the tire back on, we eased back into town and got everybody back to where they were going and said goodbyes to Damien. He really helped out too. I want to thank him for coming all the way from Tulsa to be with us. We sure needed him there, and I want to personally thank the ones who helped sponsor the trip. We got a lot of good information and a lot of things to share with everybody. I'm sure that I probably left some stuff out. It was just so much going on, and we were all at Josh's trying to get just as much of the footage that we could. There was just the activity there was just unreal. Yeah, I think we was all turning and pointing and trying to get each other's attention to what we were seeing. And okay, Jerry, I guess I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, as soon as I can get Damon on, we'll have like a smaller kind of conversation, some because I know that there's all bits and pieces that we're gonna say, oh yeah, remember this, and and things like that. Because
So,
I can remember some things I like that people do need to know about, and oh, matter of fact, maybe I can hold up my phone because I got Josh's interview also.
yeah,
And you remember when he told us about and orbs, because and we've been seeing orbs around here. And when people tell you that, little balls that you see in a picture sometimes, which are pretty much the same thing. But he was talking about orbs, flying through there, and like when people talk to, us, they'll but when people talk to us like that, we listen to them. We're not that people where they're skeptic of what you've seen or what if and that I've known Josh a little while, so I would go visit him and track up there, and I was showing him this is this, and now I mean the more he knew, I mean he was just picking up all their tracks, where they were and everything, and he gave us a good description of everything that was happening in the area. And so whenever I seen that orb, I said, well, I've got to post this because a lot of people just talk about it, but this is what they're talking about when they said that there was orbs, in the area and stuff. And so, um, let's see. Cliff Bay says that was awesome, Malcolm. Thank you. Yes, thank you. And we still got a little bit more to talk about with Malcolm. And I want to also see if there's anything that you forgot. Well, I go send the email to Damon, and I was worried about it clicking off a while ago, and I didn't want to mess up the stream or anything, so I came back. But apparently, it was still okay. So I'm going to go and send Damon that email. If you can think of anything that you might have forgot, or just add a little more of what you've seen and everything, and uh, how the
Hmm.
even like how the park ranger thought that we was getting arrested,
The
and
comical part of it, huh?
yeah, because it wasn't all when it was time to do serious stuff, we was serious, but we got to kick back
Yeah.
and uh, jump in the water and stuff like that. But Malcolm, if you'll kind of just try to think of more things like that. Because we heard that part of it now, just everything else. But still, I know there's some things that we might have missed. Like even like whenever you went out to look in these certain areas because you was catching these things and like I don't know if you got to take a picture of it with your phone or not. Because you had a different color of night vision and um and on the film it looks grayish, but the regular part of the night vision it was more of a greenish, but on film it come out brown, like a gray one. So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go and get Damon hooked up, and I'll be right back. But please let more people know of more things, and also that we're wanting to have more camps because I know a lot of people here want to know more information about that, and we kind of talked about that. So you can share with the people here of when we can possibly, work things out. But I'll be right back as quick as I can.
All right. About the situation at the park grounds. Damien comes up now. Damien is an ex-police officer, and I was talking to him, getting to know him and everything, and very interesting guy, and he has a lot of knowledge of what he's been studying, and that was one good thing that we were all able to share knowledge from each other, and it confirmed a lot of things too by sharing. But anyway, he pulls up and he had chased down his patrol car that he used to drive. So that's what he was in when he got to the park. And it was kind of funny because Jerry didn't see him come in, and he pulled up into our site. And when Jerry looked up, there was a patrol car sitting there. And Jerry's eyes kind of got big, and he hit the whelp and stuff on the siren and stuff, and I think got everybody's attention in the park. And But later on, before we was all getting ready to head out and stuff, we went over to the other side, and apparently somebody in the park had called the park manager and said that somebody must be getting arrested or something at our site because the police was there. And Crystal was the park manager, and she come over and pulled up and in a very professional way and was inquiring what was going on. And then Damien came and introduced himself to her. She was able to relax, and but yeah, it was kind of a comical situation with her and with Jerry and stuff. But there was a lot of and relaxed times we was able to kid around with each other and get to know each other and kind of share some experiences with one another. And let's see. Some of the, I know with my video, I mean, with my infrared viewer, it's really clear. I can see really good. The only problem is it doesn't record. I tried taking some pictures. I had a few in sight that I was got some pictures with my camera through the viewer of, but it just wasn't very clear that way. But it was clear looking through it, and I was tapping Jerry. I was like, Jerry's right there, just signaling to him. And it was it was a very interesting sight, and I don't think we were expecting it to be that active, and was surprised, but we worked well together as a team. We were using the equipment, and if somebody got tired, somebody else took over with the heavier equipment, and the team was able to work very well together without uh, with signals or just looking one another like you know be able to take take the heavier cameras and stuff and share that part of it. And I noticed that when one was filming one way, another be filming another way, and another one another way. And um, we do appreciate the help that Josh gave us. He really got good training in what to look for. And a lot of the things that Jerry has mentioned in his teaching of how they are was very actual, and we've seen it while we were there, their actions and everything. See, everybody was very professional. Everybody took it serious. Nobody on the team was out there whooping or hollering or calling or I think everybody knows better that was there. And no, Jerry, is there anything else I'm missing?
Hmm. Maybe how later we seen that they were circling us and that they were, and whenever you see the rest of that video, there was a lot of them in trees, and in one area there were multiple ones, and there was a few of them. It wasn't just the you know what, four or something. There was quite a few of them in that area. They were
Yeah.
all packed in one spot.
Yeah, I know there was 4 or 5 in one spot, and there'd be 1 or 2 here, then there'd be 4 or 5 in another spot. And I mean, you could see them. You could see the eyes shine. You could see the silhouettes. I think there was a few that even went translucent, and it kind of started in one area, and then yeah, like Jerry said, you could hear them with their calls and stuff starting to go make a complete 360 surround around us. But I think we really threw them off guard. That we surprised them that of the level of proficiency that we were able to do. We were able to protect ourselves, and you really think of someone that doesn't have the knowledge of Bigfoot, how easy it is for them to come up missing. And there was some of the calls that you could tell that they were communicating with one another. And the
Um, Malcolm,
mhm.
Cliff wants to know what caused the second flat tire. Can you kind of explain how that worked? I guess a little more detail.
Uh, um, the trap with the tire. Um, what Jerry and I noticed was there was a couple. Well, one big. There was a few sharp-pointed rocks that had been placed in this rock pile, and it was kind of large rocks on each side that when your tire would go over the rock, it would kind of go up, but it would come down hard, is what it seemed like. But yeah, the tires were punctured by these pointed rocks, and it left like an inch and a half puncture in the tire. And these are very sharp rocks. I mean, they're not dull. They were sharp edges. Maybe had been broken or tooled. It was just really interested how they found that. Now coming back down, well, I said I was trying to stay out of the same track. I was able to do that until I got to this one spot. And to go over this spot, I had to get in the same track. If I had tried to stay on the other side, that side dropped off too low, and there was a big rock there that would have hit the oil pan. And so I had to take the left side of the vehicle going back down and get put basically on that rock to keep from bottoming out, which put my tire in that same area that these pointed rocks were in. And sure enough, it got us. And I think the average person, if that would have happened, they would have stopped there and um, started working on changing their tire. But we were able on the first one. The tire didn't go down all the way until we got to the top, and we was out of that zone. But on the way back down, the tire went down immediately after hitting it and going across it. But I told everybody, I said, guys, we're gonna ride this tire down. We'll go slow, but we're not staying. Let's go. And so we all loaded up and headed on down. And it was probably Damien had to back up probably 100 yards or so before we found him a spot to turn around. So this is on the side of this mountain, and it was very steep. So it was a dangerous situation that we were both in. And, any other questions? I can't read anybody's questions.
Oh, Sammy wants to know if the traps were from the Bigfoot. Um, they can't set traps like this. And then we was also, whenever we was coming up, I said or I don't know if I said it, but I was thinking that if these Bigfoot wanted to, they could pull a tree out and leave it across the bridge or across the road where you would have to stop, and that's another ambush site. But right before we got to that next ambush spot, there was a big tree laying across the road right there. And I was like, this place is, it's set up. And then even on the way up there, we seen pull downs, we seen the hiding spots, the tracks, the trails, and they were all up through there. And we didn't see deer,
Yeah, the first
but
trees that I noticed was the one that was broke off. There was two of them that were broke off, probably 15 foot up in the air, and they had been twisted and broke. And it was kind of like the way they were bent over and everything would have been a marker or blind or something. But normally I don't pay a lot of attention to bent or broke trees. But when something is out of the not normal, like the twisting, that these are good sized trees, and they're 15 foot up in the air, or 12 to 15, somewhere in there. And we seen that, and the sheriff said there's a lot of trees that's broke over at about 12 foot up in the air, 15 foot up. He goes, yeah, he'd been noticing that too. And yeah, when seen that one tree that Jerry's taught, somebody had pulled to the side, but yeah, that tree came from nowhere. Didn't see anywhere where it had been blowed over or anything. It had just been laid across the road, and it looked like somebody had moved it. Also, that deer where something had pulled a large animal or whatever across the road. Don't know. I say deer, but don't know what it had drug. But the drag marks, the only mark that it had on it was where we was coming down. It didn't have two marks, so that had to happen while we was on top of the road of the mountain. That was the only thing I could think on that one. And anything else?
I was gonna say yes. There's a lot more.
There was so much, everybody. It was just one thing right after another. in that area, and I'm sure there'll still be things that we'll be talking about 2 or 3 more videos if we
Yeah,
think about.
and tomorrow we're having the video. I mean, oh, Michael. I mean, well, everybody here. Once you see that video tomorrow, I mean, plus we're gonna put those orbs in there too. If you haven't seen that, it's on YouTube also. Um, but there is multiple eye shine. I'm looking for that 2 or 3 clips where I had that new battery in it whenever I shine it, because you can see the figures and everything. But I haven't went through all the video, but I know it's there whenever I had brand new batteries. We just changed them out, remember? And I said, give me some more shells. And we changed it
Mm.
out real fast. And then I got it back up there and they were brand new and they were so bright. And I was like, oh, look at that shot right there. And then so I gotta I'll go through all that tonight. And so I'm gonna be up because I wanted to get that done. I'll get it up somehow, some way, even if I've got to just do it on here and then videotape it with my phone and do it like that. But I'll get that up, and so everyone be here tomorrow too, also for that. I mean, we're not going yet, so don't worry because we're still waiting on Damon to get here if he can get here, because he also experienced what Malcolm experienced and what I experienced and Josh and these other guys, and but you everyone always has something else that we missed, and that's what we was going to do, except everyone had to return home. So but afterwards we was going to get together and videotape everything that we seen, heard, and shared and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's one thing. This is all raw. We hadn't even been able to really talk with each other about everything. So this is looking forward to, like, the orb. I wasn't even aware of the orb. I had my back facing the other way when you was filming the orb, I think, and I think that was about the time that I was um, looking at. There was one that was, I guess that would have been on the south side of the field, that I had in my viewer, and I was trying to get the picture of with my cell phone through my um, viewer, and but that was we all were able to see a lot of the same ones, and confirm what we were seeing, and which would really work well as the team was. And,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
well, I just want to bring out that, I mean, they knew we were there. This wasn't like being in the field and in the woods and having to be very stealthy, uh, because they knew we was there. They were stunned, like I said, by our response to them, um, our responses to the vocals, and aware of how they were trying to surround us. And I was just thought about that. Go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, we pulled up to Josh's house in the daytime. Well, we went to Josh's work because when we leave messages with friends, we just say we'll be in this time and we'll come by and see you, and either we'll spend a night with them because we always try to stop by and see our friends when we're out in places. But I knew that this place was like this, and like if it was people who didn't believe or something like that, like the young man who was visiting Josh, his cousin. He didn't believe, he was kind of like, "What y'all looking for? You like skinwalkers?" I said, "Yeah, exactly like skinwalkers. Bigfoot, dogmen." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So I knew that he didn't know anything. And one time he went somewhere and he was walking back. We caught him with the infrared. I mean the thermals. And that's whenever we said either you go inside or you come out here and stand with us. And I think Josh was telling us, don't be walking around out here at night time. And then that was about the same time that guy showed up and said something big just crossed in front of me. And he goes, or no, I said, so what do you think it was? And he goes, probably a bear. I seen a bear a couple weeks ago, so maybe it was that bear. And I said, "Oh, okay. You think it's a bear?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "You want to see some Bigfoots?" And let's see. Did we talk about whenever we pulled up real slow? I don't know if we talked about that, but when we pulled up Josh's house, how we come into a place like that we kind of creep in. Did we talk about that? I don't know if I talked about that when.
Not really, not really. I think that's when we got no that I'm trying to think which time that was when we got out and we was smelling the different skunky smell and stuff. Was that when we first got there or the second time we come in?
That was the second time. Whenever we kind of creeped in with our lights, and
Yeah,
you know, because we caught them off guard, doing that, and I was going
yeah, we did.
to, and that what's his name, Damon, after he walked up to, when Josh came out and everything, that he said, "Who lives in that house over there?" And we said, "Nobody." He goes, "Well, there's somebody over there. They're on the top, And
Mm.
but Josh, he told us exactly what was going on, and like when people tell us things like that, they'll stop sometimes and wait for your reaction of whether you're going to believe them or not, and but like we was all talking, even different experiences that when we was children of uh, people telling us to watch out for the boogeyman and the monsters and things like that, and uh, I know you was talking about how they called. I forgot you had a different name, I think, for what they called it. A wood booger? No, something.
The wood booger, yeah.
Could you tell people about how they were trying to warn you or tell you, but it just never really as a child sunk in, I guess. Because if they would have told me and I never seen it, I'd been like, yeah, which I I never seen it until last year. But
Yeah, well, I remember I was telling him I remember when I was little playing outside. Lived in South Alabama, and it was very, very wooded area, and um, we they tell me not get close to the fence or come inside before the wood boogers would get out and or come get me or stuff like that. And as little, I just thought it was like, oh, they just trying to trick me into getting and coming inside and stuff. But I never really paid a whole lot of attention to it. I remember times being out in the woods and hearing things, and like you, most stories you hear of pig hunters and stuff, just kind of brush it off as something else. And but just throughout the years, different things. When you're sitting there fishing and you hear a big balloon, and you're like, "Oh, a frog must have jumped in or something like that." Well, look at your surrounding, what's around you. Make sure it ain't a big rock that come by you. because you might not ever see a frog go sitting on the side of the bank or a log or something, but you'll probably hear that, you know, something hitting the water. Um, the first vocal I heard was probably in 2013. That was up by where Damien said them two men went missing by Keystone Lake. I lived basically on the other side of the wilderness from Keystone Lake, and I was coming down the steps about 10 o'clock in the evening night, and I had heard a scream that made the hair stand up on my neck. It was, and it. I know cougars scream. I know different kind of animals scream and stuff, but it was nothing like that. This was, um, it did sound like a female screaming, and immediately after the scream, I heard a whoop. And, just laughing, to myself, I said, man, I said, that was pretty good. Somebody ought to win a Grammy for that one. And um, it was just a couple of days later that my wife said that she had heard a few things in that same area of the property. And so that kind of got my attention. It's like, oh, really? And she was like, yeah. So we started paying more closer attention to it. And there was a whole lot of things, a whole lot. Um, Things that happened since then to that property, and we moved here to southeast Oklahoma a little over a year ago, and it was kind of like hard leaving that area because of I was studying and getting to know, what I was learning about it and how they acted and stuff, and um, we did live there on Keystone Lake there for a few months, and I had got a lot of vocals there. Um, but then I realized that we was moving down to southeast Oklahoma. And, well, maybe I can learn some more. So, yeah, it's been this area is very, very active, and I know other areas are too. But I don't know anything else.
um, so it was actually my fault with Damon's email. I put a MM instead of a MN, so he'll be here in just a minute. And but just kind of tell us about if you would want more people to learn all these things, like before we go to camp, or would you rather them try to figure it out themselves, or would you rather them, because a lot of the things that we talked about were, I mean, were
Yeah. Um, yes. It's a whole lot easier to learn from somebody else. I look back at a lot of the mistakes that I made um, in the past. I guess let's see, it'd be 8 years that it's been real active for me and my wife, and the knowledge that you can get on this channel about them will help you. Are you getting a lot of back feed?
little bit, but you're still understandable.
Okay. Um, what you will learn on this channel is professionalism. Um, it'll keep you and your party if you decide you want to go out on a walk or a hike, and you can learn what to look for. Um, you know what kind of situation you're in, why you're in it, um, what to expect. Um, but yeah, you can make some major mistakes um, out there. I know one guy. I'm not sure of all of his situation, but there's around Oklahoma City. There's a little wilderness area, and I had seen on one of the Facebook sites where this guy disappeared, and he was by himself. Showed pictures of his truck. He had a map of the area taped to his back glass of his truck that I guess he'd been studying, planning on going out. I don't know the whole situation, but he's still missing. So, it's prudent that you get as much knowledge as you can about this subject and these beings. And I was telling Jerry, Jerry has his tracking school, and he's got a lot of slack about his prices, but this is a 30-day school that he basically teaches everybody everything he knows. And now I have called some of these when I first moved in the area and was wanting to kind of get to know the area and know some of the people around and stuff. And for a weekend, they want to charge half of what Jerry charges for the whole month. And what Jerry has given on his experience that he's gained from going to different tribes, different places, and learning from them, he's just sharing. And I'm very thankful for what he's sharing on what he's learned on this side, and he's doing it without charging anyone. So good job on that, Jerry. We appreciate it. Um,
Yeah, we there was a lot of things that happened out there that we talked about in here with the group, and I know that if a lot of the people who could have made it, if you would have been there, you would have been like, okay, so I know this is happening, and and if you've never seen one of these beings before, you would say, okay, now I know they're real. Uh, I don't have to say prove it to me. I don't have to say show me pictures or video. I don't show me a track. I don't care about that anymore. I know, I don't have to see a plaster cast, which some people do. So I mean, it's good to have those, for people to see. But once you see, once you know for real, then you know, trying to when people tell you to prove it, you're just kind of like, what's the point? Go out in the woods, or listen to somebody because you don't want to go out to the woods unless you know what you would be doing. But I still need to get Damon on here. I gotta send it one more time because I really want him to tell his experience too. And we still got plenty of time. I mean, uh, so if you could probably talk about uh,
I know. I got something.
okay, okay,
Uh,
thank you.
uh, I'll talk about our trip the other week um, that you and I made um, to the pond and stuff. Um, Now, when we got there to this property, and I know Jerry's talked about it, when we got there to this property, uh, it sounded like the movie Birds. The crows were just going nuts when we got out, and we geared up and we had signal the no we rolled up easy. We got out easy. We were quiet. Um, we didn't spook the horses or anything. The horses was even kind of coming up to us, which is not all horses do that. And but we avoided the horses, and finally they decided, okay, well they're not here to mess with us. So, but we basically found a stealth area that we could stand and wait. Um, we signaled to each other basically what was going on, what to, inform each other what we were doing. Um, we found a big tree that we were both standing by that kind of camouflaged us, and we stood there for, I know it had been an hour and a half until finally the crows just shut up. You know, we we just had to stand there and to get that part. Um, but during that time, we got some good footage. Got a few heat signatures and everything, and there was a game trail that we was watching. Now on this game trail, on from what I viewed, no, Jerry had mentioned it earlier. I seen these dark figures on all four, and one had went across, and that's what caught my eye. And I watched it go across, and I thought, "What is that?" Then there was two more right by, and I said, "Well, that I guess that had been three pigs." You know, in my mind, that had to be three pigs. And it was about 20 minutes after that, and there's a deer that had come by. Jerry had seen the deer too, and we went through. We were staying stealthy. We were trying, like he was talking about, dodging the spider webs. If you walk straight through the woods, knocking the spider webs down, you know they gonna know the direction that you went. They're gonna know you're there because they're not gonna move that way. And once we caught their tracks and we was following their tracks, they were zigzagging through the woods, and there was a path. We found a path, that didn't have the spider webs, but we had to zigzag through the woods to get through that, and we were finding track after track of prints, um, broken mushrooms, broken twigs, broken um, tall grass, and you could see where they stepped. You could see the impressions, and we the got to the area. I know there was this one area that we seen a little pile of scat that looked pretty fresh, and then we kept going, and we seen the trees on the fence. There was a area that was cleared out where all the brush had been pushed back, and it was like somebody had swept a dirt floor. It was just clean as could be. And in that area, there was a pile of green pecans, and there was impressions like little prints, like hand prints and stuff around these pecans. And so we went deeper into the woods. There was following that fence line there, looking for hair, stuff like that. But we were more interested in tracks and seeing where it was going. And like Jerry was talking about the traps, it was exactly like he was talking about how they have the traps set up. There was this ravine was probably 12 foot, approximately 12 foot deep, and very few ways to get in and out of it. But you could see the deer tracks in the ravine and other tracks, and we followed one direction, and sure enough, we come to a wall of trees, brush, and you could see where animals tried to climb the wall of the ravine. You could see the barks, but um, nothing else there. And yet the tracks were just gunched there. And no way they led out. Um, the bridges that were across the ravine, I noticed one, there was 3 big trees right there on one side, and then there was a couple on the other side that would work as blinds, and there were footprints around these areas and inside the areas. Um, we kept walking down the ravine and found another tree bridge going across it, and basically the same situation. A little bit further past it, there was a few sharp turns and then a wall. And it was very inviting to cross the bridges and see what's on the other side, but we knew better. And we didn't put ourselves in that position. We stayed on the side we were on and were able to continue on around. And I know Jerry went in, but I was very observant and was watching around us, and we were on guard that, but we were examining the area when we got around. We'd been in for hours at this time, and when you're moving this way, you're not moving very fast, very far, very fast at all. Um, by the time we got toward the back of the property area, we were pretty beat, tired, hot. We'd done been in there for about 10 hours, and finally made it to the pond area. And of course, around the pond, you can see the different tracks, the deer, the raccoon, possums, and stuff. But Jerry found those tracks that looked like the little handprints that had, like they had lain down to drink water or something, but you could tell they were little handprints. And so we rested there for a little bit, looking and watching until we headed out. And was talking to the owner of the property, and Jerry had mentioned to him that I'd seen some pigs. He goes, yeah, well, there were some pigs here a while back. He goes, but he hadn't seen any lately. And when he said that, I was like, the what? And but the more I got thinking about it, because I was only thinking as a little one as being in one, but the three that I seen started, kind of like, okay, he said there was no pigs in this area anymore, so what else could it be besides? So it was like really uh figuring this out in my own mind, that because I was not expecting that. And but that was like, well, he said, yeah, I talked to a guy on down a couple of towns down the road, said he seen some pigs, but the other day he goes, but he hadn't seen any. But it was really neat to be as that stealthy in that area to where the deer just walked by and didn't even acknowledge that he had seen us. Um, Now, on our way back in, when we was headed headed out and back to the house, there was a deer that was spooked. Um, but that could have been to get us to chase it or whatever. Now the deer that we seen that walked by, it could have been spooked just to see if we were hunters or what we were doing there. Um, I seen one that had got spooked and maybe something that was chasing it. It was kind of an odd situation with that one. And I'm sure we might have messed with one of them's hunt or something. That was really not really weird. And I'm looking the Bigfoot print and that one. Jerry was walking down looking at the ravine, and I was watching, standing while he was looking. And I was watching around us, and on this game trail, crossing the game trail, seeing that large footprint, and got Jerry's attention. He come over there, and we both we measured it, marked the spear with, and measured it later by the mark on the spear. Put our feet beside on each side of it to show how wide it was, and it was 21 inches long, and I say about 6 to 8 inches wide. Uh, that was the only clear one in the dirt, but we could see the impression and the straw and leaves uh, throughout as we tracked on toward the pond. There was a marshy area that we looked to see if we could see any in the water. We didn't, but we could see this guy's footprints in the leaves and the grass, the impressions there. So it wasn't just like a one footprint type situation. It was uh, a line of tracks through there. But the most identifiable one was the one that Jerry got the picture of, and I think he's got it posted. Okay, Jerry.
There's a question from MS or SMA.
Okay.
She says, wow. She goes, WS, or maybe it meant was. Was there any evidence that the wildlife figured out that that was an ambush and stopped entering? Was there any evidence that the animals figured out that those bridges were ambushes, and did it look like they deterred them, or did they stop? Or she wants to know, or ask you that question.
Uh, I don't think so. I think they were very effective ambushes because we could see the tracks going in, we could see the tracks running inside the ridge, but really didn't see any of them coming out. And I don't know. Did you see any of them coming out of it, Jerry?
Oh no, no! Once I seen that ambush, I was like, no, there's and there was no marks of like them getting out. It looks like they just came there, and that was the last stop.
Yeah,
Um,
I seen the one to the left, that wall on the left, uh, where there was some scrapes on the side of the wall, like they were trying to get out, but
yeah.
you could tell it wasn't successful.
And do you remember that one when we come around that back after that first bridge that we found, and
Hmm.
we went back this way, then we came back this way, then we found that other blockade.
Yeah,
There was a way out, up little ramp, that little ramp,
yeah.
where we found impressions on the grass or the leaves. So even if they got out up and going up that ramp, they were still running
Hmm.
into, you know, uh, but they marked their traps, where their ambush spots were. Um, they were all in those places that we talked about, and they uh, they knew that we weren't hunters, and then that they knew we was looking for something, just like the Bigfoots did over at Josh's place. They knew because we were 24 hours. I mean, well, you know what I mean, 24/7 as far as keeping surveillance on and keeping that light up. We didn't have a dark time. We switched off so we could keep that surveillance going. We had the thermals, even the trail cams. Um, let's see, there was a. Uh, let's see. Cliff says, Jerry, please ask Malcolm what hit, and we still got time, so I mean we're in no rush, and we're still waiting for Damon. So if you don't mind taking a couple questions,
Sure, that'd be fine.
okay. So Cliff Bays um, says, Jerry, please ask Malcolm what his sixth sense was doing. Was his body on high alert, goosebumps, or like hair raised? Did he wants to know, when you knew these things were there? Well, oh no, Malcolm's already know these things are there. So, but he wants to know how your like sixth sense, how what your feelings were. Did anything get set off, or was you nervous? With your feelings.
Okay. Well, the first thing I do at a site or pull up somewhere is notice what I smell. If I smell anything that's out of place, um, Jerry kind of surprised me the other day when he was talking about the smells, about smelling the sweet smell of the mirror and stuff like that. Um, because I've smelled that before, but I look for the smell. I The hair does kind of stand up a little bit. Um, you get, I get a feeling of being watched, and but yeah, when we pulled up to Josh's and Jerry and Damien was interviewing Josh, and after he started talking, and I felt that stare, that those stares and being watched, and so while they were doing that, I was already on my monocular. Um, I was looking back and watching because I could feel the presence. I could feel that there was present activity. They were there, so it was already, and you could just see them and everything. I mean, I guess just basically we all kind of had the same feeling when we was there, Cliff.
SMA says, Malcolm, what different types of smell have you noticed when in the field? Also, have they ever tried mind with the blocking? I've had to block them many times.
You broke up. Can you say that again?
Yes, SMA should like to ask you, what different types of smell have you noticed when in the field? Also, have they ever tried to mind speak, even with you blocking it? Uh, she says that I've had to block them many times.
Um, I have the skunk smell, um, a bad body odor smell, pungent smells. Um, I think it's just according to what they've been doing. Um, there may be certain scents that they can throw off. I have smelled in a situation where you like I was just talking about the smell like flowers. Strong, strong. You think you was standing in the middle of a flower garden. Um, but there would be activity to take place. Um, there was a time that my wife and I was over on Hanobi mounting, and I had just got that monocular and wanted to take and use it and try it out, and so we just decided to right over there and look, and we got to the. I'll show her how to use it. We got going up. She's using it, and we got there to the top of found a spot to stop, and she's looking. She's got binoculars. She's looking all around, and on my side was clear, but on her side to the right was woods. And I stood up, and I was like, fresh smell of pine. And when Jerry's talking about the smell, so I was like, oh crap! But and I was smelling the pine, and probably 5 minutes later, I was looking around. This is where I had learned a lot from Jerry since I met Jerry. Um, I was looking for something to clack together, you know, and not the smartest thing to do. But it instantly went from a smell of pine forest to skunk, body odor, just an awful smell. And I was like, oh no. And what we got into, and jumped back in the truck. And my wife looks at me, goes, "You smell that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she turns around, she's got the monocular. She goes, "Oh, it's something's out there. It's right there. It's right there." So I grab the binocular, or she hands it to me, and I grab it, and I'm looking. I'm like, "Where was it? Where was it?" And she goes, "It's by the tree, by the Y in the branch, and or the tree with the Y in it." And so I look and I find this tree. It's got the Y. I don't see anything, but I'm steadily going, turning to the left, looking, scanning, and I get the like a hairy torso in my view, and it dodges in the same direction I'm scanning, and then I see an arm swing down, look like an arm swing down across my view screen, and it was kind of startling that it was just boom out of the blue, losing, and this was happening. So I said, "Well, we need to go. We need to go. I don't know this area. We need to go." And this was our first trip out there after moving down. And so we moved out. I mean, backed up, moved out, and took on. Uh, the this was November of 2019 or 2020. Yeah, and it was in December. It was almost exactly a month later when we went back to the spot and was able to find the impressions of where it was standing behind the tree. The Y in the tree that she was talking about was about 10 foot up in the air, and it was 30 feet from the vehicle where we stopped. And this thing was huge, and so going back to what Jerry asked me a while ago about the experience and learning from other people, yeah, I learned by experience to learn. um, because you don't know, that something like that can happen real quick, just where you may be in an intention to practice, or just look around, see, you might be in a situation. So we've been up there a couple of times since then, doing a little research and studying, and that's basically where I learned a pretty good bit about the tracking myself. And it's good to know. I've been learning a lot from Jerry about it. Um, different things to look for. Where we lived there by the lake Keystone and stuff, the experiences that we had there on our property, I learned a lot about tracking there. Um, Still learning about these creatures and stuff, and help from Jerry that's been very beneficial. And but any more questions?
I
Oh,
don't
wait a
see
minute.
any. Oh, okay.
About the mind speak.
Oh, yes, yes.
I personally try to guard against that if I'm in a situation where that may take place. And like Jerry says about clearing your mind and stuff, I've been practicing that for quite a while, um, in those situations. But like I said, you can get, when you start noticing and you're out looking for these things, you can get yourself involved in a situation real quick because you're not approaching it as the average person. And they notice that too. So you need to get as much experience as possible and listen to ones who's has a little bit of experience too. And don't approach it with a closed mind. You want to learn what you can about it. Okay, Jerry.
I'm gonna, since we got a little time, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna, I guess, put it up like this. But um, this is Josh's interview. Whenever we got up there, um, because we did see that orb and everything. But I want to let the people hear because I don't see him on here yet. Oh, and Damon said there's no email yet. Um, I'm gonna send 3 more emails. I'm gonna send it to everyone. I mean, and then if that don't work, then I'll. What I want to do, if this doesn't work this next time, Damon, if we could have you tomorrow, and then we'll push because it's an every night thing. So, and then have you tomorrow, Damon, for your own, uh, however long you want to be on, and then the day after do the video, and the video makes all perfect sense once you know everything and what we went through, and that will give me at least 1 more day to do that if it doesn't work. But if not, we still have time tonight to get get you in, Damon, and hear everything, and then after that, then we can all kind of have a little round table or square table or triangle table, or and then we can you know once we hear your side, Damon, that you'll have those missing things and I'll have some missing things, and you never know if we can get Josh on here the day after, but I'm going to go ahead and play this interview that we had with Josh. It is very important, and he tells you himself of what's going on, and but we haven't put this out yet. But you'll get to hear it right here, right now. Give me 1 second. I hope this is loud enough. 2020, and they started appearing themselves coming out of the woods.
November 2020. Okay.
Yes. Okay. And they're still here. I hear knocks out there at nighttime. Heard some about 5 nights ago. I sat out here in the car. And we also have something clawing at cedar trees. I don't know what that would be.
Which one?
Back here behind the fire.
Okay. I know where that is.
We have.
You can see like the claw marks and the pools, the scrapes. Okay.
And then we have where you can see like a big beast has been sitting on a trail here in the woods. Also have some kind of figure, kind of like a stick man that's behind my old house over here, or behind our old house. We've had seen like orbs floating around a few times.
What about any red eyes?
Red eyes?
Colored eyes.
Colored eyes. I have seen look like a red eye just shining back off in towards the woods back there, and then come out and shine my light, and look like something you can see something just hunched down back there as you go up the hill up there.
Okay.
I've seen foot tracks, and the ashes are in the fire, and the ashes after.
I'm actually looking over the trailer that we moved. Looking in behind the house.
Okay.
I had something at my bedroom window. Fire on it hard. I believe that's it.
Okay. I was gonna remember that time Nick and I was out here and me and you went inside the older house, your old house, and we both was in there, you know, looking and listening, and then we heard the walking or the creaking of the movement. So and also that usually it comes around the house, right?
Yeah.
And then I know it used to go around those hay bales, but now that you moved it, have you noticed that you moved further behind those last hay bales to cross over?
They're in the pool back there.
Okay, okay. So
And then that spot I want to show you tonight or tomorrow, out east of town towards the mountain, would be a good spot. I followed out. I've seen a monster track. Very big spot.
okay, yeah, we seen a 21-inch, about 8-inch wide track the other day. We were tracking. Had a friend's area over in the Atoka Push County line. We heard through there was documentaries done at that spot too, so we kind of just wanted to check our friend's area out for him. But we didn't tell him what we was looking for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we found, we seen some, we fresh tracks, you know, we kind of pushed them out because we was tracking, and they just kind of went out of our way because they knew that we was being really observant. You know, we wasn't, you know, walking through. We was taking the 5-step stops and, you know, looking. And it took us 10 hours to get through there. But that was, I mean, that was a long time. And wasn't it 2 miles long or something? And but we found a 21-inch there, plus some small ones and some middle-sized ones there too. And it was the same size like the tree that's on the fence line over there. And I found it in other places too, and it marks where they live because I've been finding all their spots too. But I'm gonna probably use this film. Hopefully, I can get it up in the morning because we're gonna be like real quiet out here, no sound, so we can track what we can. And then when we get close to daybreak and we hear that whistle, then we'll get ready to wake you up and everything, or come in. If the door's open, we'll just come in.
Yeah, just come in.
And so if you're asleep, you know, we won't wake you up and everything until you get up and everything. And then right about daylight, we need to head out to the other spot.
Okay.
And
we should. Before daylight.
Yeah, well, yeah, even better, right before daylight, so we could be there right at daylight, you know. So I guess, do you know what time daylight is here? Because I know what in Antlers it's probably about 7.
I'm gonna say
7:15. Okay. So if we could get out of here by
6 o'clock when I roll that a bit.
Okay. Before twilight, so they should be called back by at least 4:30. 4:30, 5-ish, and so if we could go out, I guess we should arrive perfect time when that sun comes up, you know, and if we shoot for that. So, and if you wanna, if you want to just smoke you one or something inside or something, okay. Okay.
Okay, that was explaining to us about orbs, Bigfoots, beasts, creatures clawing the back of the trees, and like things that we talked about here with how when you're observant, you're going to see that your area is going to be undisturbed. It's going to look like there's nothing wrong there. But even Josh was talking about if you go out further, you'll see all the wood, structures and the claws on the trees and the place where they sit and wait for ambush of the animals, and they're by the ponds and everything that we talked about. And even Malcolm and I found where the trees were laid over the fence, just like over at Josh's house and some other places. And so we're very observant whenever we go to these places. And when people talk about seeing things like this, and they're expecting people to either ridicule or make fun of it, but if they tell a group like this one, we like, okay, keep going, tell us what's going on, and we know that there's more things out there. Let's see. Thank you much, Malcolm. Amazing experience and knowledge. Thank you for the share. Blessings. And that was from SMA.
Okay.
And then it says something like, "Was that a gun you had on the camp, Jerry?" Yes, Kathy. I you can bring whatever you want to. When I'm out in the field, I always have my weapon, and anybody can dress they want to, but like at the camp, we unless you're already experienced, we tell people that if something does happen and there is an altercation, that the weapons that I brought for me, because I know there's going to be multiple altercations, and that was even proof just the other night whenever we was they was up in the trees around back, um, on the roof, behind the hay bales. There wasn't just one Bigfoot out there, and so yes, there was a weapon out there. I also carry spears. I also have I think it's 10.5 inch blade or a knife. I carry night vision thermals. Uh, with that night vision is a camera, it's a binocular, game cams, spikes, and that's to deter from where I'm sleeping or the camp is sleeping, because you don't want them walking into your camp and things like that. So
Well,
let's see.
I'd like to add, Jerry, if you don't mind, I kind of like to add about that. The weapons are basically for defense, for deterrence, to set up a perimeter with the spikes and stuff for protection. And because you don't want to go in hunting one purposely and shoot one and think you're gonna drag him out. That won't be good. But yeah, a lot of people have misunderstood Jerry about that situation, and he feels the same way. You have to protect yourself, because these things can be vicious. And I think when we were up on that mountain and when they seen Jerry with his weapon, I think that was a big deterrence from them to keep moving forward with the situation. Because if it had been just an individual who had been out joyriding or something like that up in the mountains, and they got out at that point to change his tire, and that individual, according to the evidence that was around that spot, he would probably went missing, or she, or them. So yeah, that is for protection. Okay, I just thought I'd throw that in for you.
Oh yeah, and I get that question all the time, and And we've even talked about this on a couple segments, Gil, because I keep kind of bringing it up because people do, especially like with us for a while. Um, but I always just tell people that people ask me if I would kill Bigfoot, and I said yes. I said if it came to the engagement and yes, I will kill a Bigfoot, multiple if I have to, because I'm not going to let it kill me. I'm not going to but I also tell people when we go out, these places that we're going to have our own battles, because they're not coming just straight ahead, because they will surround you. They'll try to get behind you, all corners, and then they'll come in. So everyone would have a direction, and but then we also teach individual and like team tactical training on how to work together. Like me and Malcolm, we talked about going shoulder to shoulder and things like that, so that we know where each other is, and um, and that's the best if you have enough people like that, high powered weapons, 300 or 4570 or something like that. Some people like the 50 cal is something that will put them down. AKs will work, but you still have a lot of bullets with that. But SMA says, "What is the place to aim for the kill with the Bigfoot?" Facial shots. They are tender underneath here. If you could get that, maybe if their arms are up, the genital areas and the buttocks area. Everything else has got big bone or it's got layers of muscle. So, and small weapons, they may penetrate, but they're not going to go deep enough to stop these things. So, be very careful when you're out there. And if you do see one, you've already been seen, and and that one is a decoy. So, you have to make sure you know what's behind you, what's on the left of you, what's on the right of you, and make it out of there safe. But whenever this team was together, things happened perfectly with us. It was like something would show up right at the right time, or we would show up at the right time. And the reason I was saying things like that too was that um, when we was trying to get there before daylight and kind of set up before it got dark, and then watch them come in. But we showed up at nighttime, which was even better because the Bigfoots had already set up. They was already out by the time we got in there. And so this actually happened the best way, and things like that. Uh, yes, they hunt. They're predators. They kill to eat food. Um, they know how to make traps. They weren't born yesterday. This is millions of observations. So don't be fooled that they're harmless little vegetarian Harry and the Henderson kind of things. They hunt for food. They're the second best predator. They hunt in multiple, packs. They're in many places, and we didn't have to go far. And when you see on the other Bigfoot channels, we always talk about, these guys are going way out in the woodlines and the mountains and everything. Whenever these things are around your houses, around small towns, even big cities like Tulsa, places like that. We've got reports in those areas. So you don't have to go too far, but people make you think you have to. So be aware around your parks, your waterways, your campsites. And remember, if you haven't heard, some of the things about the ambush spots and things like that, watch a couple of segments back because we talk about what to look for, like your shelter, which is your car, your house, your campsite, your campers. When you go into town or when you go on a nature walk, these things move in. They get as close as they can before you get back, and they're in the best positions. And also, like with this team that are now, we was looking in the best hiding positions for them to be, and that's where we found them. I mean, we got faces on there. I haven't shared that yet, but we got faces, things like that. Uh, I mean, just everything. And these these predators are in a lot of places. we were in a small town just on the outskirts of it, and that's where we had these, and they've been there a while, so they'll be fooled. Um,
Well, if anyone's wondering kind of the area that we was at, um, I don't know how many everybody's seen the cluster map that's out of the missing people and how it's a map of the states and it's got where most of the missing people have gone missing. And they call it the cluster map because it's in clusters. And well, we were kind of like spot zero for the Oklahoma Arkansas line on that cluster spot there. When Jerry told me that's where we were headed, and I looked at it, said, "You know that's in his living room, don't you?" And but yeah, it's like, okay, well, let's go. But yeah, that area was sure enough, you know. Okay.
yeah, it was an experience, and I haven't told you because I was waiting until we got to everything. But I think tomorrow, Damon, if you're still on, I'm gonna have you tomorrow on, uh, that we can wrap up here. But then the next day, I'll have a video. They'll give me an extra day to get it really good, or figure out the way to like put it on my phone if I got to make sure that we have it here. But I'll work on that tonight, tomorrow, and have Damon on tomorrow. But I also wanted to tell you, whenever we were at the very top of the mountain, whenever y'all were working on the the tire and everything, and when me and Josh went in, you know how we go in, so it's going to take us just a little bit, but um, we found Bigfoot tracks and we found pathways that they use, and it was the same way that whenever me and you went out, Malcolm, it was we followed the spider web, we used those, and we found that path, and we followed that down, and at one point, um, I stopped, and I always take pictures over my shoulders and everything, and I just like we're right here, so let's lay the tobacco and let the water know we're here, we made it all the way here, we came all the way to the mountain, and but I took a picture from left and right behind me, and when I got back, there was it was like a hut that was so camouflaged, I didn't see it. But when you blow up those pictures, because I do that when I get back, I blow up the pictures, I go through everything real slow, and when I blew it up, well, and when I blew it up, there was a hut out there, like a blind, and that was right at the top of the mountain. So they were right at the top of the mountain all the way down. So don't be fooled. They're from the
Yeah.
top to the bottom.
Well, when y'all were headed back up, I was Danny and I was sitting there waiting on y'all. He looked he looked to the left because he heard some noise and brush and stuff over there, and then y'all were coming up to our right. So we hadn't had a chance to tell you that yet either. So um
Tell
yeah,
me.
y'all might have been see this is raw everybody. But yeah, and I was hoping that he would have the opportunity to say that, tell you that. Sorry, Damien, but with it brought up, I thought I'd go ahead and tell him. But yeah, it was. So y'all might have been being paralleled on y'all's way up.
Yeah, Josh said that he felt that, and we kept with our 5-step stops. We would go. So uh, that's the same thing what we talked about, that they will walk when you walk, stop when you stop, but you also listen to the birds and use that also. I mean, it's to your advantage or it's your disadvantage. And but when we were up there, we'd hear just one bird or we'd hear one cricket over here. Like, okay, so we got one over here, one over here, and so we just followed that trail all the way back. With the trail that we came in, we tracked that same trail back, and until we got up close to y'all. Then we come up the back way, and there was a back way right up to that spot, so you could come up without somebody knowing. That perfect place to back in and park. With the high grass right behind the back. That
Hmm.
was a perfect trap place for someone to park there and wait for help, or to put
Yeah.
a little. Yeah, that whole area was a trap, and
Well, that huge spider web was right there.
it sure was. It sure was. It was like, there it is. There's the trap. It's right here. And I'm so glad that it was this group, and some of the people on this page. A lot more than a lot of people in the world, and it's valuable for you to get this experience. You know that when we track through there, or when we're moving in those lines, we're not going fast. We are observant. We want to know what's going on,
Hmm.
everything. Uh, but yeah, and on the other side, because I took a picture over my shoulder in the very back. I mean, it's just so camouflaged. I couldn't see it till I blew it up. But there was, like, those multiple tree bends, that you'll see a pine tree, a pine tree, a pine tree. It's kind of like a hut. I mean, it is a hut. But they pull it over, they put the on, and they can use for a blind or a place to sleep. But in the background, there's a tree, and there's a metal rod stuck in the tree, and it's a four cornered one. Maybe the size of like a aluminum chair. Just that metal about that big, and it was stuck into a tree, and there was a makeshift hook around it, and it's kind of like a hook around it, and it came to a bar, and it was over right over the hut, and I was like, that's a great place for a hut, and they've got a makeshift metal with a weird looking homemade hook, um, for whatever they wanted to hang up right there. It was like a perfect trap and a feeding for anyone going this way, anyone going that way. And I was thinking that if we went up further with one another tire, even if we changed it, I think if we went up another place, there was another that was going to pop our other tire, because normal it's only two tires or a spare per car. So
Yeah.
all they had to do was pop the other one too, and we would have been further up and further away, and back more in the darkness. But even where we backed in, that was still a perfect trap for someone's like, hey, that's a great place. It's level. We'll just back up and right there. And then I seen those pictures, and we was like right between, like, where multiple can be, or where they sleep. And on this side was another hut, and like a hangar for meat and animals, or people. And
Right.
and this, like you were saying, this is a spot for missing people, multiple missing people, not just one person. And one person is too much anyway, but it's a spot where there is a cluster of missing people. And I mean, just us being able to get out there with a team like this, to where everybody was observant. I mean, it's for me, that's great having people go out there with you like that, because you don't want. I've had people out there where I have, like, be quiet, I'm trying to hear it, and they would get offended and be louder, just to mess, kind of mess with what I was doing. And so I'd be like, all right, let's just go back. And then I'd get kind of upset because we were leaving. But when you're tracking and everything, you've got to, like we were doing. I mean, you got to be stealthy. You got to blend with everything. You don't want to be that disturbance. You don't want to cause that attention because that is life and death situations. Because if you start getting surrounded and you're up on those mountains, and if like some people may even have had to spend the night up there or try to, maybe they didn't have the extra tire. Like Damon, he didn't have an extra tire, and if he would have went over, that was he was done. Luckily, Malcolm had an extra tire, and he was willing to drive on that flat so we could make it out of there safely. And but you got to have a team like that. You got to have a good group of people who know what to do and know that if we got to go, it's time to go, and know the traps. And like Damon, Malcolm was saying that whenever that second tire popped, we both looked at each other and said, "That's a trap," and we both said, "Yeah." And so whenever we got out to go find, what or where that trap was, that's when I grabbed the shotgun and just put it out, slinged it over, and that's when Malcolm started looking for tracks and what happened and where this place was. And I was just watching the ridge lines, everything, because I was like, this is a trap. And especially when we seen the dead birds and everything right there too. And then we found like other tire marks, like other tires have been popped there, and it wasn't just ours. But I was going to tell you about that. That I'll send those to you, and when I get this video, also I'll put it in that video and kind of slow it down or frame it so everybody will have a chance to see what I'm talking about. And whenever people are whenever we're talking about certain things like this, people are like, What are you talking about?" If we talk about orbs, okay, but we were able to capture all this time, and it was because we had time to prepare, and we caught everything off guard. We was not It was not the time for us to be up there, but we was up there, and that's a way a lot of things happen, is that you catch a lot of things um, unaware whenever you know what to look for, and it changes the whole ball game because now they're more defensive as like what's going on because of you're not the normal person. And uh, Faith Walker says this was fantastic. Thank you guys. And Kathy Galbraith, I don't want to get it wrong. Kathy Galbraith, she says, "Follow the spider web. What does that mean? Can you explain that to her, Malcolm? Follow the spider web. What does that mean? Or what does this mean? Sorry."
The spider webs um, are there, and the Bigfoot know the spider webs are there. And if you're tracking a Bigfoot, this Bigfoot's gonna move and purposely not to break the spider webs. Now, you want to follow the same path of the Bigfoot to keep yourself, in stealth. You don't, because if you walk a straight path through the woods, knocking down the spider webs, then you're leaving a track for Bigfoot. He knows that there's probably a human in there, and all he's got to do is turn around and follow that straight path behind you. So these spider webs are, it's like a maze. It's like going into a labyrinth. When you look at those spider webs as a wall, and then when you look hard enough, you can see your path. Or if you ever been into like a glass house at a fair, you got a path through that glass house. You might not see that glass, and like Jerry said before, sometimes the sun will camouflage that spider web where you can't see it. And if you knock two or three of them down, it's like leaving big footprints for Bigfoot. So if you look hard enough, you will find that path that the Bigfoot took through the woods. He don't go in a straight line. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, the part of his stealthiness is the way they travel. So when you get on the track of a Bigfoot, and that's why a lot of people, they say, well, I only seen one track, and because they're going in a straightforward path too. But when you follow the track, and if you can see the track and you can follow it, then that's usually in a very weird pattern. But that's one way. One of the reasons why it took us 10 hours to get through the woods is because we was following that same path of the Bigfoot and trying not to disturb or leave any other tracks for them. What do you say, Jerry?
That's exactly right, and that was for Kathy Goblas, Blair. Um, those spider webs, everything out there can either help you or it can alert someone to your presence. So, and we've been teaching this, and just kind of been like your first time. If you'll get a chance, go back and listen to some of the streams because we talk about this. We talk about trails, tracking, and a lot of information that you need to be safe out there. Um, Kathy says that's creepy as heck, and Cliff says the webs are like signs for the Bigfoot. Leave them undisturbed, and the Bigfoot, and there is no sign. Yes,
Yeah.
when we break those, yes, whenever we break those spider webs, we're leaving a big mark that somebody who doesn't know the area just walked through. And this big, and you can see the top or corner. So I do want to say Damon is here. He just got so glad. Uh, so I want to ask uh, Damon to explain everything from his get go. From I know he had a couple problems, not problems, but he had to take care of some things before he made it to camp. So if you could kind of start with like whenever you got to camp, as soon as you pulled into the park, kind of start there and tell us from there to the end to where you had to. I mean, you don't have to tell us why you had to go or anything, but that that was the time that we got through the ceremony and things like that. But if you could just and you missed a lot, so what you're saying right now, is something that we might have missed or didn't talk about. There's something in there
Right.
that you'll have. So if you could, for the future, and so that everyone can learn from your experience. Also.
Yes. Well, just like when I got to camp there with you all, everybody kind of freaked out because I have a black and white car, which, was my old patrol car. And, that kind of throws everybody off. They're like, whoa, okay, is that a cop? Well, yes and no. I used to be a cop and have I got my old patrol car, but it's also good too because I still have the working spotlight. I still have the flashing, I have the white and amber lights on my car because I also use that to help out because the strobe on them also deters other people, or if somebody has a flat tire or something comes up, I can be able to go in and help them. And so, you know, it's a kind of a plus plus with me having that car. And so when I take and I go out in that car, it really makes it interesting because a lot of people want to look at it. A lot of people don't want to look at it. They're like, you know how you kind of put your hand up over your head, going, "Oh crap!" As long as they don't see me, they're not going to turn around. A lot of people look at that and think about that, and I think it's funny. But no, when getting back to where we went to camp, went out to Josh's, was pulling in slow. Even coming up there, I could see the trails, you know, that the Bigfoot makes. And just like Malcolm was saying, it's not like an animal track or an animal trail. An animal trail, they take the least resistance to go where they want to go. A Bigfoot is just the opposite. They will literally, when you look like they'll go left, they'll actually go right, because what they're looking at and in the way that they make their trails is they feel the vibrations through those big feet. When they feel the least resistance of vibration, that's where they're going to walk. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't really understand why why their legs are longer on top and shorter on bottom, which is just the opposite of a human being. That you have to take into the effect that their legs are built like a frog. When you see a frog jump, they can jump with their whole body weight. So you have to take that into an acceptance. When they're walking, they're not walking. It's actually them at be almost like a pace. And because what they're doing is they're shifting their weight with that step, that stride. And when they're doing that, that's why a lot of times when you hear them move, you don't see a full footprint. You may see the claws, the toes, the upper ridge of the foot when they're moving. Only time that you really see a full footprint is when they're in that mode of taking and they're observing, or they're watching their prey. And the reason why they're doing that is because they have to put their full weight on that foot so that they can slowly move. And when they're moving, it's moving just like a cat trying to find a way to catch the mouse where the mouse doesn't see the cat. And that's what you really have to understand. That's the way you have to read them. And that's why we're experts, is because we know how to read them. We know and can sense their next feeling, their next movement. And it keeps us one step ahead of them. That's why we as experts, when we go out in the field, is because we take that knowledge from the last encounter to the new encounter, and that's how we become more safe, because we learn how to take that knowledge and apply it. And the more we apply that knowledge, the safer we can become. And one thing a lot of people don't really think about, but a Bigfoot looks in color spectrum. They see in the infrared, So when it comes to like the blues, the hue of a blue, to them, they can't see that because that blue becomes a white, and when they see that white, it's almost like it's a shield. They can't see through that. And that's another reason why too that part of my car is white, is because I know when I was sitting there with, in that white, even my hair color with the silver and white, they can't see that. And it literally blocks me from being there. And if they're not focused on you, they're not watching you very well, you have that opportunity of surprise. You have that opportunity of going, I see you, you don't see me. And that's one thing that we were doing there at Josh's, is we were sitting there observing. And that's one thing I have to let everybody know is don't follow the pace of these other people. When they go out, you see them go out there and they're clanging, clanging rocks together. They're beating on a tree, or they've got two pieces of tree together and they're banging on it. Well, that's calling the Bigfoot to you. That fire is calling the Bigfoot to you. I mean, that's almost like turn around and taking a spotlight and shining it straight to the International Space Station and going, hello, I'm right here. Come get me. That's why you hear a lot of the encounters of rocks being thrown at them, sticks being thrown at them, is because it's irritating and provoking these Bigfoot, Sasquatch, to do that. It's literally causing them to come in, and they're like, well, we're just doing this to hear vocal. Well, which would be better, to listen for them to vocal, or for you to cause them to vocal and for them to react to that? Because it's like turning around and sending a wrong message to the Bigfoot, to the Sasquatch. It's like, I'm here to fight. I'm here in your territory without being invited. The way we do this, it's like we go in silent, we go in quiet, and it's not disrupting them. It's not disrupting their rhythm, the way that they react, what they're doing. So it's like having an open invitation to go anywhere, compared to having a group go in of, say, of 8, 10, 12 people, and that are causing a ruckus. It's like, it'd be almost like your neighbor coming in to your yard. You didn't invite them, and they throw a big party there, leaving beer cans and bottles and trash and everything. That's what the Bigfoot is taking that representation as. It's like, you're not, we didn't invite you. You're not welcome. Go away. And that's why that we have more encounters, because we're not there, and they don't see us there as a disturbance. And as long as we're not disturbing them in their element, they're not going to have that vicious outburst. They're not going to have that, that kind of a rage for us to, we want you out of here. Go. We don't have to worry about that. Plus, that also helps us to be more safe. yes, yes, we're still armed, but it keeps us more safe because then we're not provoking that attention like these other groups are giving out. And that's pretty much a disaster. If you're calling something in that you really don't, you really can't face, don't do it. Just, you know, just like I tell people, if you living out in the woods close by and you hear that scrape on the side of the house or that knock on the side of the house, ignore it. Don't go outside, because that's the first thing that the humans want to do is, ooh, what was that? Let's go look at this. Let's go check it out. That's the wrong thing to do. If you're not experienced in it, you can't verify exactly where that is at and what made that noise. Don't go outside, because these Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they've got years and years of practice of mimicking humans. They mimic animals, pigs, anything that's wild out there. They've learned how to mimic it. And then when you start hearing it sounds like children out in the forest that they're playing or crying, that's not a child. That's a Bigfoot, because they've learned how to mimic their prey, and humans are their prey. And the best thing I can tell you is, if you go outside, make sure, especially at night, make sure you have a weapon. Make sure you never go alone. You always have at least two people with you besides yourself. That way, where you're looking at, the person next to you can see behind you, and that third person can look on either side of that to be able to make sure that you have 360 eyes. Because if not, that's going to leave that window open for them to sneak in. And it only takes seconds for an attack from a Bigfoot. Because you have to understand, a Bigfoot, it's like the power of 10 men. It'd be like 10 people running at you at once, snatching you and disappearing with you. And within a few minutes, you're miles away. And you have no clue where you're at or where you're going, but the Bigfoot does, because they've been there. They know where they're going. They know what they're doing, because that is their home, their living room, it's their bedroom. We walk out there blindly, because a lot of times hunters go out there and have no respect for that forest or the woods. They want to go out there, they got that ego of, hey, I'm Mr. Macho. I'm out here to kill a deer. I'm out here to get food. I'm out here to get my next trophy. Well, you also got to remember too, when you're out there taking that deer, you're making that new trophy. That's taking food off of the plate of the Bigfoot. And that's why that you have the missing people, you have the encounters, is because people don't respect what's in front of them, what's around them, before it's too late. And that's why we as experts, we respect everything around us. We watch closely. We take and make, we don't make that extreme step or, move too fast. We kind of live and walk like, we kind of live the path of the turtle. One step is one more step into the next, into our journey of what we're doing. And we're doing this for education because we don't need people out there being foolish to where that they just step somewhere or out somewhere and think, oh no, nothing ever could happen to me. False sensitivity. That's what the Bigfoot does. He lulls you into a false hope, a false dream that, oh yeah, I'm out here in the woods, I'm having a good time. But we forget to use that sense inside of us to go, okay, is something watching us? How many eyes are watching us? You feel that little bit of a chill on your arm and your hair raises up and you're like, oh no, that's just, it happens. No, that's your body saying, you better look that way because there's something there with eyes on you. And so that's what, that's what we're here for, is to help teach and for people to understand that these orbs, these flashes of light, these eye shine, it's real. And we need to, we need as a group, as a people, to understand that we can't be taking our mind and saying, well, okay, let's dissect this. And oh, that eye shine, it was a coyote, or it may have been a cow. No, what you seen with your eyes the first time was a Bigfoot, was a Sasquatch, and you have to accept what your eye sees to your mind, because if you don't, you're lying to yourself. When you lie to yourself like that, and that lie goes to other people, you're not walking in the light. You're not walking in the truth. So you have to make it simple of what you see. It's just like when you take your shoes off, you see a pair of shoes, you see your feet. You have to make that realization that's truth and light. And that's what you walk in. That's how you become more knowledgeable and reset your mind compared to the way you've been taught, the way you've been trained. That's why it makes us more adaptable and more experienced as experts, because we've learned how to train our mind. What we see, we take it for realization. We take it for truth. And just like when we were out there, we were hearing, the dogs bark, but then we would, you'd hear that little bit of extra yelp in the bark. We knew that right then it was not a dog. And what they were doing, the Bigfoot out there, is they were literally getting close enough to the dogs to make them bark, to see what our reactions would do, to go, to see if we would actually go see where that dog was at or see what happened to that dog. But we were smart enough not to play their games. We stayed where we're at, stayed based where we're at, so that when we moved as a group. And so that threw their game off. That threw them off. And so they kept on through the night, and they would even mimic cows. We heard, hearing the cows out there. But here's the thing: is when we were hearing the cows, usually when it starts getting dark, you'll hear the cows, especially like a female. She's kind of like the herder of the herd, and you'll hear them moving even at nighttime, or you'll hear them cough a little bit because they're eating the grass again. We didn't hear that, and so right there told me that wasn't the cow. We heard the coyotes out there, and then you'd hear kind of like an echo of them, and it was like coyotes don't echo. So we knew right there, no, that's not what that was. Even they were even sounding like owls out there, and we knew that it wasn't an owl, because they don't, after an owl hoots, they kind of have a screech to them. Well, they were hooting, but it was kind of a hoot with a grunt in it. And it was like, yep, I know exactly what that is. You're not fooling us. Nope, you can try. And, we'd sit there and chuckle and laugh because we knew what they were doing. And, it's the thing of knowing what's out there and kind of knowing your distance, where your safety is, of being an expert. Because even though that they were around us, we still felt safe because we knew we could count on each other. We knew that if something would occur, that everybody would have been right on top of it and not even think twice about it. And that's why that when we do have these next camps, and we get more people in, we want to show them how to move, what to look for, and even some of the scrapes way up high in the tree, even why some of the leaves and stuff are missing off the trees that other trees aren't. Well, that's their perch. That's where they sit. That's where they watch. They'll get close. They'll get close. They'll get in within 60 yards. Sometimes even a little bit further out. But they want to know, they want them, they want the people to live around there. They want to know that, hey, we're here. But it's what you do afterward. Are you there just to observe? Are you there to provoke? If you're there to provoke, they're going to make a mess of things. They're going to move stuff around in the yard. They're going to show you, hey, we're here. Don't matter what, don't matter who or what you are. If you own the land or a house or whatever, they're like, no, we're here. You're in our space. Don't matter if you, if you own that land or whatever. They're very territorial. And the best thing to do is find somebody like Malcolm, Gary, and me. Ask the questions. Because if you don't get your questions answered, you'll never know the truth. And the truth is the light that you can see beyond the darkness. And when you can see beyond the darkness, there's nothing to be afraid of. Yes, they're still predators, but that doesn't mean that you put yourself in that position for them to attack you. And that's what we're teaching is not to do that, not to make those mistakes so that you're not the next person that comes up missing or a friend or a neighbor. That's mainly what we're here for, is to give you this education to make acknowledgement and our experience known to those who have and want to know what we know. Like I said, I don't know if anybody has any questions. I would love to answer some questions.
We'll see if anybody has any questions for Damon about his experience and what he may help you with, or any kind of information that you may need, just like Malcolm. You can type that here. I don't think that they can see the questions, but if you have any, you can type them here and I'll ask them. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about, because Damon's here, we can kind of talk about this now, but we went on track and also that there was 2 times that we came upon their fresh tracks or their trails, and we used those trails going in, but each time we had to break off because we had another destination going. But we were being observed both times, and just them knowing that we were on their trail, and if we would have went further, if we were tracking them, we would have found them. I mean, we would have went right to them because we had the tracks, the marks, and they seem to be real careless because nobody's really looking for these things, or they're not as good as what people say. I mean, because we can see tracks leading all the way up and scuff marks on bark and mud on some tree vines and things like that. So we had them track. Also, uh, if we don't have any more questions, that we will close up tomorrow. I can get to work on that video. Malcolm, he did a very good job at explaining and going into a lot of details from when you showed up too, David. I think you did. Did you hear Malcolm?
Yes.
Okay. So it was like I was saying, if we don't have it, I'm going to go ahead and finish up because I want to get on that video tomorrow. And what I want to do is that show that video in small clips so that we could have both of y'all explain what was going on at that time, or who's seen this eye shine, or seen this, because I don't know, because we were switching off with the night vision and everything, so I don't know who was seeing this certain thing that I captured. And so I was like, well, one of them will know, how they caught this, or what it is, and how it wasn't there, now it is, and things like that. So after the video, we'll have those short videos. We'll explain it, have a short video I can put in maybe 5 or 6 and get the high points. And then whenever we can get the video completely done on a bigger DVD, we got to everybody, so that everybody put it on YouTube so everybody sees what happened, what the experience was. Everyone knows how to do this in the safe possible way, and that if people are wanting to come to camps, that they should play some of these streams back, learn as far back as they'll let you still have streams. I think it's 10 days. I think it's 10 days. And, let's see. Tomorrow we'll have the video for the ceremony camp. And, I put on here. Remember, this was not a Bigfoot expedition. So whenever we can have camps like that, then we would be doing things a little longer and a little different, and we would let them know that we know everything, and that we was going to wait for that whistle, and because they have to pull back then, but they didn't want to move because we had eyes on them, but
Oh yeah.
we didn't like let them know that we really had them, in our eyesight. We kind of kept moving to make it the motion of saying that, we're looking for something, but we're not focused in on you. But we did focus in on them, and we do have a video, so we can do those segments, and then you can explain what's going on, especially if that was what you shot, because um, when I'm looking through it, I'm going, I didn't shoot that, but I know it was important. I know that there's something here,
Yeah.
and I was like, but I got so much I got to look over. So I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll do this tonight. I'll get started on this in just a little bit, finish that up, and if it's okay, have you and Malcolm and we'll go over the video and have you two answer the questions, and then we'll finish this up, and then we'll get back. We'll get back on track again, and we'll also explain more about camps. Um, so tomorrow at 9:30 Central Time Zone. Let me check to see if we got any questions real fast. Um, uh, Cliff wants to know what color the orb was. That was actually, it was a white orb. I actually seen that one. I got lucky to catch that one, but that it was a white orb, so it was the less of the. If you remember those colors, the white is like the less vicious. I mean, they still will um, take a person if they do have opportunity because they are predators, but it wasn't an orange of the most vicious. So we didn't have to go on high alert. We could just watch this one because it wasn't as vicious in those color ranges. Um, Cliff says, "Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, Damon. Thank you, Jerry." SMA says, "Thank you so very much for all the information." And make sure everyone please comes back tomorrow because we have a lot more. You'll see the video. You'll see the Bigfoots. Um, and you'll see like the journey that we did because we did some videotaping, or at least I did, from when we got picked up or when I got picked up by Malcolm, and we filmed some of the roadways and things like that. So we did quite a bit of filming so that you would be able to see what we was doing and what if you was to come to one of the camps with us that we're working on getting together. And also check that museum out that's going to be opening up in September in Tallahassee, Oklahoma. Street. Great person, great curator, and it would be a good place to learn a lot. Um, also, if you want a copy of the healing booklet, send me an email, and I can send that out to you at any time. Let me. And there's no charge for that, so don't worry about that. I mean, don't think anything like that. They
Right.
are free. Um, and we will, let's see. Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
Uh,
Well,
I
one
and
of
got
the other
booted off a while ago. I was trying to get into chat, but it wouldn't let me. And that's why I got kicked out a while ago. But hopefully I can go over it a little bit later on. But yeah, I
well,
want to thank everybody for being here, and thank you and Jerry and Damien also, and for sharing what y'all know.
oh, definitely, it's a pleasure because I look at it. This is a tool and opportunity. You know, to really let people know what this is and what it's about. The other thing I was going to mention too is if anybody knows that, anybody that has any like older equipment that they're not using anymore, that they would love to donate to us. please let Jerry know. And because we could use this, because the more equipment we have, the more eyes we have there in the camp. We're looking for, we're looking to see about trying to get people that would, sponsor this, and that would help with donations so that we can have more camps. And, me and Malcolm, we talked a little bit today about, about trying to get a, like one of the old news trucks, so we can be able to, get better feed on our outings. And that's what I'm going to try to help do, is try to find ways to help us get sponsors. And if we can get sponsors, we can get better equipment, and we can have more camps. Right now we're having to take and bear the expense as we can to get this done. But we would like to be able to have it to where that it's not, we're going to have different camps in Oklahoma. And, that way we can, people that, some of the people that are here in Oklahoma, it won't be just like, down southeast. I'm kind of like up northeast. I'm up here in Tulsa, but I still have surrounding areas around here that are very active with Bigfoot. And so that's what what I'm looking at, is trying to find places to where that we can actually have a convention, that we can set up the time, the date, and we can figure out when people can be free, to take a small vacation, to come see us, to actually see us, face to face. I know this COVID is kind of a bad thing, but it's always better to meet the person face to face, because then you can really see and really take in what that person said, and that knowledge, it really sinks in then. And that's why I've always loved to be able to go and meet people, because then it's like, oh, now I can really put a voice with that face in that person, and it really sets in.
We it seems like I think we're all on the same kind of link and the same page wavelength here, because even SMA said oh no, thank you all so much. So nice to put a face to the name. So I mean, exactly what you were just saying. He said that, and even we're getting a connection with everybody. Um, so tomorrow, let's do that, and if it's okay with uh, uh, oh no, I need to ask one question from Malcolm. Uh, SMA says, how much are we looking at raising for the truck? Because Malcolm was just about to purchase a truck for us, and that fell through. And then so, well, he would have to pay it out, things like that. But he was going to kind of sacrifice and get us a truck and get a vehicle so we could monitor safely, so that when we're out in the field, we would have someone with eyes, on us from the back, and could be whispering to us if we got company and things like that, and or set up and like Damon, he was more that with the electronics. He even when we was out in the field, he handed or he showed me the thermal and said, you could get a better reading or a better view with this setting. I said, please do go ahead and do it. And I said, if you can make it better, make it better. And he did. I mean, it only took a couple seconds, handed back.
Yeah.
We're looking.
Yeah, well, it makes a difference when, it was showing in Celsius. Well, okay, but it's harder to read because we, you know, we read things right now in Fahrenheit. So that's why I flipped it over to Fahrenheit, and you were like, "Whoa!" And I said, "Yeah, anything that's over 85 degrees, that's what you really got to start watching for, because they're they've got a bigger mass, bigger body mass. So with the bigger body mass, you're going to have lower readings, lower temperature, because you're having to circulate all of that blood through that bigger mass. And since us being humans are smaller, it's more compressed, so you're going to have a higher temperature. And that's what I was showing Jerry how, kind of showing Jerry, and he was like, "Man," he goes, "Wow, you're right on." And just for instance, when I was showing him, because I was feeling the presence, and I said, "Well, there's one right there," and I pointed it out to him, and he took the thermal and went right there. He said, "Man," he goes, "I owe you $1." He goes, "You're right on." And I was kind of chuckling. I thought that was really, really, really neat, because as soon as he looked in the thermal and the night vision, went from the thermal to night vision, he seen exactly what, where I was pointing at, and he was seeing it.
um, I was asking, Malcolm, if you knew a price or anything, because she says we could all all share and get the truth out there. There. Hold on. Oh, she says
Well,
we could all share and get the truth out there. It all helps, Malcolm.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'll keep you up to date on what I can find out there. They get pretty scarce to find. Um, if anybody comes across any in their area, let us know, Jerry. I'll let you know. The last one had found one in Fort Worth, Texas, and was en route to go look at it and everything. And the ad that I had found it on had disappeared, so I messaged the guy and didn't hear anything from him. So I just turned around, headed back to the house. And later that afternoon, he said that his partner had sold it. So, I mean,
Well,
they go fast. Um,
well,
People usually cut them up and make different things out of them.
yeah.
But, you know, with Damien being an ex-police officer and I'm an ex-firefighter and veteran, Jerry's a veteran, and, you know, the three of us kind of have a lot of the same goals, and one of them's to help people.
Yeah.
And I think with the tracking capabilities that we have, if we had the right setup where we could go help find some of these missing people, would be awesome. And with kind of blend this in with teaching others how to help, and Jerry's got his missing persons websites, and I think it would be a good thing, as this grows on. It's not just for uh, video casts. This is to help anyone and everyone who wants to listen and be a part of, and to be able to use the knowledge to help others.
I think what SMA was trying to say is kind of she was kind of wanting to know about what kind of a price range what was the
Uh,
vehicle.
the used vehicles I have found ones that need work for $1,500. It's been sitting a while to and on up, basically. A good mobile one that still put together pretty much that has the telescope and some of the electronics and desk and all that monitors I've seen around 5,000. Um, so that's pretty much the area that I've seen them in. I know that place in Tulsa, they go on up pretty high there with theirs, but that's
Yeah,
their business. But if we could find some at old studios or something that we could use, or if they would donate or just whatever, man, we could really take it and be able to set cameras and mics on it and be able to protect the ones in the fields and look for ones who are out in the fields.
yeah. That's the other thing I was going to ask Jerry too. I know that Josh had said he had quite a few of the walkie talkies and didn't know if maybe he wanted to loan those out on the next outing.
Oh yeah, well he's definitely part of the team. He just couldn't get off work,
Yeah,
and he was like, man, he goes, I gotta work because he just started that job, and well, we won't say
right.
what he did to make arrangements to where he could be off work.
Well,
But
I I I heard about that, but to me that was personal, and I won't go into detail.
and SMA says we will make this happen. So she also said that she
Yeah,
would help with raising funds to get
yeah.
us a vehicle like that, a vehicle that we need, and that we can still
Well,
keep growing from there. So it,
I do know where one is located at, and I know that he wants at least 2,000 for it. I mean, we would have to kind of retrofit some of the things into it, but it is one of the it's like the transport. It's like a transport bus, and it still has the handicap lift gate on it. And that's the other thing too that I was looking at. That would be, it still has the seating and everything in there, but that would also give us something like that to where we could use it for, if we needed to transport somebody, or they were hurt, it'd be easy to be able to transport them that way.
yeah, SMA says I have CBs and ham radio stuff from my uh, from my past dad as well. He started to wake to this knowledge just before he passed.
Okay.
That
Well,
that's
that makes it really good too, because I don't have my ham license, but I have what they call a tech license, and where I can go in and actually build and work on the ham radios. I can change the crystals out. I've I've built linears, built my own uh, amplifiers. So yeah, that would, man, that would really be be something there, because the good thing too is with the ham radio, it doesn't just operate off of a base; it operates off of like the towers. So it'll send the signal, and it'll be like it'll repeat to wherever it goes. And those have a range. The ham radios have a range of about 125 miles.
yeah. I like that people are willing to help us this way so that we
Definitely.
do, be safe out there in the best possible way, and that we get, I mean, we get proof, every time we go out there. We don't really have to prove it, but we do want people to understand that these predators are out there and what to look for, and how to be still have good times and enjoy Earth, and but know that there are other things out there. And so if I could get SMA, if you could, if you wanted to send those items to us, that I'll give you my email address, and then I'll get with Damon, or I already have his email address. And
Yeah,
whenever,
it's in the chat also.
okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's also in the chat, SMA, if you want to look back over it. But I can also, when you send me that email, you're ready to send something, I'll send you Damon's email. Since he's in charge of all that, I will give you his address, and you can mail directly to him, so he can soup everything up and do what needs to be done, so we can get
Yeah,
out in the field instead
yeah,
of me
because
having to
see,
send it and send it back. So
because I also have a electronics center not too far from me. So if there's parts that need to be fixed in it or replaced, I can go get them.
yeah, so it looks like everything's good, and we are set up for tomorrow.
Yeah,
We will be back tomorrow, 9:30 Central Time Zone. Malcolm and Damon, they'll be here also. We're gonna go over film little bits at a time, and have things explained to what is out there, what we've seen, because you will see it too. But
yeah,
the what you call it, the night vision. For some reason, I don't have sound on it, so I'm gonna need y'all to ad lib and do the voices of what happened.
okay.
And I was working on that today. Okay, so I'd like to thank everybody again tonight for coming in. I know we're at almost 1 o'clock in the morning, but sometimes when you get started, you have to continue, and so that all the truth is known. And so, if anybody ever wants to rewatch this, they have from the beginning to the end. Except that, like tomorrow, we have the video that's coming up, and then we'll give more information out so that more people are safe. Uh, are there any last words that anyone wants to say, or anything before we close?
Well, the only other thing that I know of is if we can get some of the little thumb drives, the little flash drives, I can be able to take and copy these and copy the interviews and stuff on the flash drive from my computer. And then that way we can archive it and we can use it. We can keep on using it, and then we won't have to repeat over and over again. And the other thing I want to be able to do too is eventually I want to be able to, set this up to actually have interviews with people, their experience. I want to know what they feel, what they know before they actually started listening to this with you, Jerry.
That would be
Because
interesting.
I mean,
see that way too, because that brings, you know, that brings it, to find out what they believed, what they knew about the Bigfoot before we started going into this and really figuring out what's going on. Because I want to know other people's opinions. I want to know other people's experiences, because then that way that knowledge helps us fine tune and hone our skills to make us become more sharper and what to look for, what to see, besides what we're already looking at and seeing.
And Malcolm, if you got anything you'd like to say or close for tonight, is much appreciated.
Well, just thank everybody out there that's listening and showing their interest in this. I know personally, I've been doing this field, like I said, since that first scream in 2013. The interest has been, but I don't talk a lot about it to a lot of people and haven't because of all the negativity and all the ones out there that make the mistakes that they make. And it's good to know that we have this group here of ones who are taking it seriously and wanting to learn. And, everybody that's in chat, thank you for supporting the group.
And everyone's saying good night, so we're having a good night. But I also wanted to say that that even though Bigfoots are around, they will still mimic the locusts, the crickets, the one frog, coyotes. So they will still, even though the insects go quiet, they will still mimic those sounds so that you are not or that you are unaware that something is wrong. They will still, and it will still sound like nothing is wrong. Locusts will make sound like locusts, sound like that frog, make those coyote sounds in the background, and all of them are like to catch your attention. But I wanted to thank everybody tonight, and tomorrow we'll be back with a video 9:30 p.m. Central Time Zone with Malcolm and Damon, and we will go over the video and explain more of that video. We'll have to explain to you because there's no sound unless I can get it fixed. But we still will have Damon and Malcolm back tomorrow to explain more things, share more information, so this helps everybody and that we all are safe and we know what we're looking for. And
Yeah.
for us to all become experts at this so that we are really safe. Um,
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody again, and I will start working on this video. I'll see everyone tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time Zone. Everyone have a great night. I had a great night, and I'll see y'all again tomorrow.
And
Good night.
one last thing, knowledge is power, and if you have power, you are on the path to light.
Yep. And we're already winning. We're just gonna watch everything unfold, but we're gonna show everybody where everything came from. All right.
Yes.
Have a good night, Malcolm and
Good night,
David.
everybody. Good night, Jerry, Dane, everybody in chat.
Good night,
All
everybody.
right.